Very excited to be here with superheroes and friends, Chris Collins, Dr. Michael Matsuda, Dr. Jun An. You're going to really enjoy hearing from them. But first, I would like to acknowledge and thank the 300 plus employees. Let's give a slide advance. Thank you. From the Cajon Valley School District that came, and thankfully they went to work today. Next slide, please.
Where's our people?
We brought them to the air show and paid them on Saturday and Sunday overtime to be here. 300 answered the call, and they said, what is the air show? So well, we don't know. So we actually created a badge, a digital badge through our Cajon 365 learning system to help our employees build an understanding of what they were coming to. And after creating the badge, 18 miles away, they came west here to represent their students and to learn. So Chris, tell us about how Cajon Valley is approaching generative AI and these emerging technologies.
Thank you, David. Honored to be with you all today, and I have the privilege of serving on the data and assessment team in Cajon Valley. And like all things in Cajon Valley, we're starting with the end in mind. What do we want for our students? And anchoring and grounding ourselves in community voice. Right now, we're working with students, families, staff members, and community members to co-define a portrait of a graduate in Cajon Valley, or a set of skills that the community thinks students need most to thrive once they are in the post-secondary journey. All of these skills are grounded in community voice. And really thinking about the emerging technologies, it's a Moneyball moment for us as an industry. We can start to rethink what matters most in education. Moneyball is the story of the 2002 Oakland A's, and they were the first team to figure out that teams had been undervaluing and misunderstanding the game of baseball. So using data strategically, they started to really understand what every team's and every player's strengths were to gain a competitive advantage. In Cajon Valley, our vision is happy kids in healthy relationships on a path to gainful employment. These are not metrics that are showing up or explicitly called out in most feedback loops, like state dashboards, but they're definitely worthwhile endeavors, and that's what grounds our community. We know that in order to achieve that vision, we need a modern curriculum. In Cajon Valley, this looks like social emotional learning, TED Ed presentation literacy, and world of work career development. All of these things combine to form rich learning experiences for our students that develop and build the portrait of a graduate skills that our community values most. So we're working with leaders across the district, across the community, and of course, including students in the conversation as well, to consider what does it look like to design learning experiences that best set you up for success in the long term. We're also collaborating with a pilot learning management system, eCadence, to think about how technology can be integrated into this experience very thoughtfully, very ethically, and putting data privacy at the forefront, while all emphasizing for every student to develop their mission of me, where they learn about themselves, are exposed to careers, and have the opportunity to tell their story. We know from research out of Harvard and Dr. Raj Chetty that opportunity is not equally distributed, but talent is, which is why we're so fortunate to have great partners in this work with Mr. Matsuda and Dr. An as well.
So modern curriculum, Moneyball, baseball analogy, that's pretty cool. And it's perfect because if you ask GPT-4, who is the coolest superintendent on the planet? Dr. Michael Matsuda, the Jay-Z of superintendent, shows up. And you even use cool language like street data. Talk to us, Jay-Z, about street data.
All right, Beyonce. So it's really an honor to be partnered up here with Cajon Valley because we're very similar in that we, both districts, teach to the whole child. And I think that's really important in this day and age because a lot of districts are struggling with the way forward. And I think one of the things we wanted to share here is a concept of street data from the book Street Data by Shane Safir and Dugan. And I think that this is a great example of what this metaphor of street data is, because I think arguably there's three types of data, what Safir and Dugan talk about. Satellite data, which is traditional test score data. There's map data, which is more regional data that shows gaps in the system. And then street data is really the marginalized students and their families and listen to their stories. And the struggle has been to capture that street data. Normally it's in sticky notes and it's in posters and things like that, or it's in the community circles, restorative circles. But now with the advent of powerful AI tools, and both districts share this, the same nonprofit company, eCadence. eCadence is very teacher-centered nonprofit learning platform for us. But for the first time now, we can capture street data and we can look at patterns of challenges in terms of needs and assets. And instead of creating a school and a structure from the top down, which is what we've been doing in the United States for 25 years, we've built systems, arguably, around improving test scores. For the first time, we can now build schools from the ground up, from street data up, which is really the basis of community schools, not just in California, but across the country. So we're really proud of this partnership with eCadence and with other forward-thinking districts like Cajon Valley. So I think we're at an inflection point where it's really important that educators begin to work together across systems and to create sort of open source avenues and collaborations around street data. More to come. And now I'm going to pass it on to...
More?
Oh no, we're going to just scoot right
So
through that.
modern curriculum, modern tools, modern assessments, these are the things that actually brought our organizations together. Each of our organizations received a sizable grant from the Chan-Zuckerberg Initiative to advance the work and create new ways to utilize data and tools to move the system of education forward. June, what are some of the lessons we can learn from partnerships between philanthropy, research, and school districts together?
Yeah. Nice to be here, everybody. My name is June An. I'm a professor at UC Irvine. And to answer your question, David, I think there's kind of 3 points that I would want to leave this audience with. One is, I think, the role of funders and philanthropists and companies that are innovating with AI really is to bring people together. So I was able to work with you all at Cajon Valley and Anaheim through this Chan-Zuckerberg Initiative grant. But that partnership is actually super important because it gave us the opportunity to experiment with AI beginning from the perspective of the districts, right? And so the key thing I want to build off of here is just, I'm always inspired by your all's strong vision and mission, and that you're clear about the drivers, that you're motivated to inspire and drive your system, right? So whether it's the world of work, career identity, well-being, holistic sense of student success, street data versus test score data or map data, those are key drivers that I think make a big difference in the tools that we end up building together. So I just want to highlight that, first of all. So the partnership's super important. I think the second point to your question, David, is that in partnership, what we should really be focusing on, and this is from my perspective in the university, is building tools that come from the perspective of our educators and our youth, right? So we talk a lot about co-design, and we talk a lot about what does it look like to build a tool that comes from the community voice. It's not simple. It's not a simple task. It actually requires lots of deep conversation, lots of understanding of each other, and a lot of getting to the root cause, root issue of what matters, right? Really matters to teachers or to students. So that's kind of the second big point in our partnership that I've enjoyed so far. But what does that look like? So my slides, I'm actually going to kind of walk you through a little bit of a case study of the research that we're doing at UC Irvine with Anaheim and with Cajon Valley. And this is the third point, which is, what does a tool look like that actually comes from the drivers that matter or the perspectives that matter? So we've been, in the last year, engaging in a research project to work on a prototype tool with Anaheim Union. And what we're doing is actually leveraging the power of large language models to capture student stories. So we're capturing the student stories about their life experiences and their classroom experiences, and we're leveraging LLMs to actually pull out what we call the funds of knowledge that students possess already. So the skills that they already possess, the experiences that have been important to them. And so we're translating, using AI tools, the student stories into indicators and actionable data that teachers can now look at. So this is an example of a student providing a story of their experience, and we're pulling out the kinds of collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, compassion, those kinds of soft skills that are super important from the student perspective, from the teacher perspective. And Mike, I think when we started working together, that was the big driver of the district, is how do we develop indicators of these skills, right? And so we're using AI to pull out the student stories, give teachers data about what their students are saying and what they're experiencing. And we're working with eCadence, actually. So eCadence is a learning management platform that works with both districts. And we actually have a close partnership with them as well. So we're able to integrate our AI tools into an LMS that is widely used by teachers already, right? And so we're able to build our research into tools that are already within the routines of the district. And so this is an example of just teachers being able to quickly see what stories their students are sharing with our platform and what kinds of Cs the students are really experiencing in their life and in the classroom. And I call this actionable data. So this is not test score data. It's data for the teacher to know, hey, I wonder if I can focus more on compassion in the activities that I design in the future. Or I might think about critical thinking in a different way to provide students a more holistic set of experiences, right, around the 5 Cs that we focus on at Anaheim. So this is just an example of a dashboard that we're prototyping with the district, and we're working with the teachers to understand how useful it is for their practice. But what's also interesting, so we're experimenting with large language models to analyze the student language, the words that the students are actually using to describe their experiences. And these are examples of the kinds of soft skills and key indicators that we can pull out from their stories. So you can imagine the amazing array of ways that students demonstrate their perseverance or their problem-solving skills that go beyond doing a word problem on, a math worksheet, right? And so this is kind of the power of what we're trying to achieve together. And lastly, we're spending a lot of time in this research project co-designing with students themselves. So this is a prototype of a dashboard that the students at Anaheim actually designed with our lab. And the goal of this next year is we're actually going to be studying how the students want to utilize their own data to advocate for their own experiences in school. And so just to give you a flavor of the research projects that we're doing with both districts, but also highlighting the partnerships that we have, we're able to quickly infuse the research, hopefully, into the platforms and the routines that the teachers and students are using in the district as well.
Thank you. So about 2 months ago, I was at a panel like this just about a mile away from here. I'm on the San Diego Regional Economic Development Corporation board. And it was 4 CHROs from local companies. I won't name them because a couple of the responses weren't so ethical. But they talked about how are we using AI in our companies. And 2 of the companies talked about downsizing, automation, and really like looking at cost savings for their workforce. The following 2 people said, we are going to invite everybody in our corporation to learn. We're going to hire a generative AI and emerging technology director to help raise the collective intelligence of all employees about these new tools, not just for work, but for their personal lives. We care that much about our humans that we want them all to be able to benefit from these tools, both at work and at home. And that's when we thought, we're going to invite every Cajon Valley employee to the air show. It's just 20 minutes away. It's on a Saturday and Sunday. We can pay them. And so we have our IT department, child nutrition, office managers, and teachers and principals all come together to learn. And we weren't sure if that was a good idea, but based on the feedback, I think it was a good idea. People seemed very excited. But the question of how do you use it in your own personal lives? What are some things that we might learn? Because I think that's a good way for us to start the conversation with, well, this is how I'm using actually for me to translate it to work. So Chris? What are some ways you're using generative AI in your personal life to make it better?
Well, we've got a young 7-month-old baby at home, so efficiency is the name of the game. How can we take those household tasks and get it done quicker? So I'm using it to develop meal plans and exercise plans that are hyper efficient right now, so that way we can get it done before bedtime.
Okay.
So for me, I became engaged recently. And yay. So I used chat to write a poem. And I had to practice my prompt engineering to get better and more personal. And, she said yes. So that's all, it works.
That's awesome. I use it in 2 ways right now. One is, I think, Chris, you were mentioning efficiency. And so I think I use ChatGPT and large language models to create meal plans, to synthesize large amounts of data in my work. And so there's a lot of efficiency that we can achieve, right, with large language models. But for me, I'm really right now thinking about using large language models to break down our barriers in awareness. So a good example is I mentor a lot of students as in my job as a professor. And one of the things that I talk to a lot of my students about is I don't actually know what they care about. Like I don't actually know what they're experiencing in life or how I can best advise them. I know how to advise them on what courses they should take the next semester, but I don't know what the pressing questions on their minds are in their lives at the moment. And so one thing we've been playing around with in our lab is the students actually sharing stories of what they're experiencing, what's on their minds, and ChatGPT and other large language models are actually really good at just bringing awareness to, oh, it seems like you're talking about that, right? And so just knowing that before I go into an office hours session with the student actually changes the conversation totally. So I can start to talk to them about social emotional issues and things beyond just the technical stuff. So that's been a kind of a unique use in our lab. Yeah.
Thank you. And we have time for one more question. I'm going to take us on the path of concern. So we've been talking about all the hopeful and possibilities of generative AI and these new tools. Early on when OpenAI came out, just over a year ago, I think, the concern was students are going to cheat, that there's going to be plagiarism. There were more concerns than there were hopeful ideas. And I heard Richard Collada from ISD on a panel, and he said that it's all about intention because kids are going to cheat if they want to cheat regardless of what the medium is. They've been doing it, whether it's the back of the textbook, every odd number, or it's about intention. Mm-hmm. And so when we think about concern versus hope, how have you had that conversation with your own faculty, your own teachers around our students?
I think it's great that you brought your teachers here because I think that teachers need to get out in front of this and help vet these tools for people like us. I think that's the danger here in that there's a lot of shiny objects and a lot of monetizers, right, out there, and the teachers have got to get out in front of it, and that means districts have to support the teachers to do that.
Thank you. June?
I'd say I would challenge us to always take a step back and really try to be real about what we think is the most important function of education. So if we think the most important function is getting information and providing answers, we're going to design AI tools to provide information and answers more efficiently. And then cheating becomes a topic of concern, right? But I get inspired by your all's work. So what if the purpose of education is emotional well-being, connection, awareness, identity, right? I think we're at a stage where those are actually harder to design for, right? How do we promote those things? That might be the fun next set of questions that educators should ask themselves and then figure out how do we use AI to amplify those intentions.
Then those will be the questions that we bring back to our CV ambassadors. And that's all the time we have. Thank you very much, panel.
Thank you.